And we're live. Good morning, everyone. We seem to be having a sound issue. Give us one moment. Gabrielle, can you talk for me for 1 second? Ooh. Let me mute your mic for a second. Do you happen to have another tab open or any other app that might use sound?
I don't normally use this laptop, so.
Oh, your sound is back to normal. So There we go. I don't know what just happened, but it's part of live streaming. So thank you everyone for your patience. Again, good morning. On behalf of Vroman's Bookstore, I'd like to welcome you all to our special story time with Gabrielle Union, who will be reading from her newest picture book, Welcome to the Party. Before we begin, I'd like to make some quick announcements. This event includes an audience Q&A. So to submit a question, please use the Ask a Question button at the very bottom of the screen. If you see a question on the list you'd like for Gabrielle to answer, you can vote for it and it'll make its way to the top of the list. And we'll try to answer as many questions as time will allow. And if you're considering supporting our bookstore by purchasing a copy of Welcome to the Party, you can click on the green button directly below the viewer screen, and it'll take you to our website where you can complete your purchase. Our next virtual event is scheduled for Monday, July 13th at 6 p.m. with Dr. Erin Berkowitz. And you can learn more about our upcoming virtual events on our website and also by following us in Crowdcast. And with that said, let me introduce our very special guest for today. Gabrielle Union is an actress and the New York Times bestselling author of the memoir, We're Going to Need More Wine. Excellent title, by the way. She has starred in several movies and shows and is best known for her role in the BET series Being Jane, which earned her an NAACP Image Award. She's also an activist for women's reproductive health and victims of sexual assault. And her adorable daughter, Kaavia, is a darling of the internet and currently has over 1 million subscribers on Instagram. And Welcome to the Party is Gabrielle's debut children's book. So I'm going to give the screen over to Gabrielle so they're full screen.
Yeah, yes.
There you go.
Hi. Say hi. Well, we're going to get started. Kav, are you going to cooperate today?
Okay.
Yeah, she's thirsty. I think a lot of our listeners might be a little thirsty, but we're going to hold on 2 seconds. Okay. Welcome to the Party. Illustrations by Ashley Evans. Sweet baby, there's a party happening, and it's you who's invited. From your kicks and your taps, I can tell you're excited. Oh, she's excited, all right. You're the guest of honor. Let me show you around. Take my hand and we'll share this new love we have found. You want help? Oh, okay. Say hi to your guests. They're happy to meet you. They've waited so long and can't wait to greet you. We gotta show them. We're gonna show them. Wait, come. We gotta show them. You say that that's your grandpa and your dad and your grandma, and that's your sister Science. Strut down the red carpet, the crowd will cheer loudly. As you sashay and twirl, remember, shine proudly. Take your place at the table, topped with everything yummy, where we'll eat, share laughs, and play kiss the tummy. Yep, time to turn. There you go. The venue is your castle, and you rule supreme. Yeah, bath time. Yeah, bath time. There's even a snuggle spot made for you and for me. Yeah, you love the snuggles. Catch a vibe on the dance floor. Feel the sound of the beat. We'll always celebrate you. Our world is complete. After every guest leaves and all the balloons pop, our shindig keeps going and will never, ever stop. Yeah. I love you to infinity with a smile big and hearty. We're glad you could make it. Welcome to the party. The end. Yeah, the end. Yes, that's your book. Did you see Mommy? Nothing. Yeah, and me and Calvin. Yes, our hair matches today. Oh, yes. Thank you guys for joining us. Yes, they joined us for the book. Yes.
So Gabrielle, can you talk a little bit about, obviously the inspiration for your book are your children. Can you talk more about what made you want to write this book?
Just to give families and kids a little bit more representation. I think it's pretty well known by now that we were able to bring Kaavia into our life through a gestational carrier. And when we were looking for books that sort of showed how a family still gets excited and that process of welcoming in a new family member and celebrating a new family, we just didn't see a lot out there. And so we thought, let's create those images that we want to see. And through that process, I was reminded that my own mother, who at the age of 60 adopted 3 children from birth. And there really wasn't a lot of literature that just showed a different variety of family creation and expansion that didn't involve, a pregnant mom and then going to the hospital and what that process looks like. So we just wanted to create some images that allows all different kinds of families to show how we celebrate and anticipate a new arrival, no matter how they come into our family.
I love your book's dedication, by the way. It reads, "To my daughter, Kaavia James, and every family whose journey to baby might have taken a bit longer than expected. Welcome to the party. You are right on time." It's such a beautiful dedication. It's almost like a love letter to parents. I just want to ask, what do you hope other families and children take away from your book after reading it?
That no matter how you arrived in your family, that you are so loved and you are so celebrated and you are so appreciated at this party called life, because I think sometimes when we make different decisions or all of our life stories don't exactly match, we tend to want to other those folks and those families, and just giving every family whose journey has maybe been a little atypical, that space and a place to celebrate, how your family came to be or how your family was expanded. And also for, other kids, the kids who are all sitting around and we're all telling our birth stories, and they're hearing a story that that doesn't sound quite as familiar, and giving them the language and the images to have those conversations in their households as well.
Yeah, definitely. Representation is such an important issue in publishing. That's why the Own Voices movement is so powerful in publishing. I guess, like, are your kids avid readers? Do you read a lot of picture books to them?
Yes, we were really lucky that so many of our friends and family, by the time we kind of got over the danger hump, and we were able to start telling people that Kav was coming, we were flooded with books, all different kinds of books. And we were able to establish not only a pretty significant library for Kav, but also were able to make so many donations to local libraries. And then we were so flooded, we were able to make, massive donations to libraries in underserved communities. There's just so many books. We read every night to Kav 2 books before bed, and 2 books before nap time. Zaya is a writer. I know.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Known as a photographer, but her first love is writing. She loves YA fantasy, a bit of YA teen romance now that she's a teen, but she loves mythology and history. And so her books that she's writing herself, her great works. I believe she's up there writing her version of the Iliad as we speak. I wish I wasn't as intelligent as Zaya, and I could understand Nort's mythology and how that works with Greek and Egyptian mythology. I haven't a clue. But she's an avid writer and reader, and it's just sort of a natural extension from how my mom raised us.
That's wonderful that your family is, avid readers, and that your children is getting more on the creative side, because I feel like that's like super important nowadays. So, like, how has it been with the whole COVID situation? Because a lot of children have had to go to homeschooling or do virtual schooling. So how has that been for your family?
For us, it's been, dare I say, a dream. Thank goodness all of our kids are self-starters. And it's also probably very telling that they are not super solid on how they think of us as intellectuals. So they prefer to do their own work without our assistance, because we're kind of hovering, waiting to be tapped in. And they're like, we're actually okay. We got this. So between their teachers, who have been phenomenal, and their tutors who segued into virtual tutoring sessions pretty seamlessly, we've been good with homeschooling. Now, activities and PE and that type of thing, that has been more of a challenge. But virtual learning we've been good. The 2 older boys graduated, no issues. And Zaya, all A's, 1 B+, which she's still not over yet. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for parents who are having a difficult time with homeschooling and also virtual schooling? And also just like summer activities, because I know like a lot of parents, they can't send their kids to day camps.
Yeah, I think what we're all kind of dealing with is being sort of stir crazy in the house and all kind of on top of each other, and not having those little bits of silence that we're used to either at work or in the bathroom or just when the kids are gone, just not having any silence. I have no shame about hiding in the bathroom for a little longer than I normally would. I strongly recommend it. And that's where I try to commit to like a chapter of a book. when quarantine first started, for me, one of the first things that went was reading. And for me, books, words, that is my peace. That is my joy. That is my self-care. And it kind of went out the window, and I couldn't figure out what was causing so much anxiety and how to kind of release it. And what was I doing differently aside from the, feeling like the world was ending. And my therapist, which I also firmly recommend for everyone out there. There's a lot of, if cost is an issue, there's a lot of no and low cost therapists who are offering virtual services. But she said, well, are you reading? And I was like, no, I'm not reading. She was like, well, are you playing words with friends? That's always brings you joy. And I was like, no, I'm not. And so just giving myself a little bit of grace in the bathroom, because that's where it's the only place where I'm not constantly inundated and I can find a little bit of quiet. I just use that time. I multitask in there, and that has given me the little bit of grace and the little bit of peace that I need to kind of re-enter the chaos that is our household.
Yeah, that's definitely relatable with chaos in the household. Are there any books? Are there any favorite books that you're reading right now?
I'm reading Clap When You Land. I've got Vanishing, I don't call it Vanishing Acts, but is it Vanishing Hat? Vanishing Acts. Am I losing my mind? Britt Bennett's book. It's on the bestseller list. It's either Vanishing Acts or Vanishing Half. It's sitting in my bathroom and I'm drawing a blank. But it's Britt Bennett's follow-up to The Mothers. And that's on deck. But I'm reading Clap When You Land right now.
And what about your children? Do they have a favorite book that they read for bedtime or in their spare time nowadays?
Sweet Girl of Mine, and it's Pajama Jammy Jam.
That's a fun title.
and I'm probably butchering it, but it's like it's pajama jamma 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 jamma, but it's basically like an ode to pajamas, and it's like nighttime and like your rituals, and we mix up her pajamas because it kind of goes with the book, and because it's like whether you have striped pajamas or polka dot, and Kav will point to the polka dot and point to her own polka dotted pajamas. But yeah, and I tried to incorporate some of my favorites from childhood. And my favorite book was Marvin K. Mooney, Will You Please Go Now, which is a Dr. Seuss book. But yeah, those are the ones that are in constant rotation right now. She's like, she's changing rapidly. So by next week, she may have new favorites, but this has been her favorite for the last 3 months or so.
That has like a long staying power for kids,
Yeah.
They always want the next new story, like one more story, mom. That's like a common thing with a lot of households. I'm gonna transition over to audience questions because we do have a couple here. This one is from Alyssa. How was it transitioning to writing a children's book compared to your experience writing your memoir?
Dramatically different and way more difficult. I think it had been so long since I had read children's books by the time Kav had come along, and I was so in the mix of writing my my follow-up to We're Gonna Need More Wine, and trying to do Welcome to the Party at the same time. It's a lot easier to write about yourself than to figure out the right language for the little guys. That was really challenging. And, kind of wanting to reinvent the wheel. And I'm like, but what does it have to all, does it have to all rhyme? And, what about this kind of couplet? And they were like, yeah, these are the things that works. And they were right. It was very challenging for me. And it was a very humbling experience. And I relied very heavily on my editor and, Ashley, who our illustrator, Ashley Evans, to really lead. I think anytime you're entering into a space that you are not as familiar with or comfortable with. It's best to lead with humility and throw yourself on the mercy of everyone, of everyone's grace, and just be like, I need help. I need guidance, because I thought I knew what I wanted to do, and I was a little unyielding in that, direction I was headed in, but it wasn't working. And I had to, humble myself and listen and ask more questions. And I think we settled on a really nice, in a really good place.
Do you plan on writing more picture books in the near future?
Yes. There'll be some announcements in a couple months.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And
I roped my husband into this next round, though, so it won't just be me by myself.
What was your reaction to seeing the illustrations for the first time for this book?
I was blown away. I throughout this process and meeting a lot of different illustrators, and once I saw Ashley's work, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. Because just even, looking at the cover, like having an illustrator that understands the textures that exist within, Black hair, and even how Black baby's hair's textures is slightly different, and as you grow, that texture changes. But really capturing all of that, and being okay with leaning into Afrocentric features without it being too cartoony, and kind of something that I didn't quite recognize. And it's such a beautiful collaborative experience, and I was just overwhelmed. And it's funny because the picture that we sent in for my father, my dad was like, could you send a picture of me in my 30s? Because my dad is bald now, and he had hoped that when he appeared in the book, he would have hair and be grampy. But yeah, and even, Dwayne's mom, she was like, thank you for using my good wig in the illustration. But everyone really loved how they were represented, and it felt like that Ashley really captured, who we are as a family.
I think Ashley did a splendid job as well. Another question from the audience. Did you ever anticipate Kaavia's Instagram would garner as much attention as it has? Whose idea in the family was it to create it? And what were your reactions when Kaavia essentially continues to go viral for her amazing personality?
Initially, you kind of want to keep everything, about your life sort of close to the chest, especially after so much heartbreak and so much heartache. But then we were like, well, let's just share one picture on our page, of her, talk about her arrival. And just from this, when she was a week old, 2 weeks old, she's been very consistent with her facial expressions. She is not here for anyone's shenanigans or anyone's antics. And she's been just very clear about that. So we thought it was kind of funny to just share, some funny pictures of her, as a baby. But it really wasn't, we didn't really have much more of a plan than just to kind of share more of her. And it just sort of took off. And what it made me realize is I wasn't the only one, or our family, we weren't the only ones who have been on very long, painful, heartbreaking journeys to, expanding our family or creating a family. And Kaav represents so much to so many people. And, but above all, she's just joy. And so we just kind of kept going with it. And it was supposed to be me and my husband doing the captions and trading off when we were posting pictures. And I let him do it. I was like maybe within the first few days. And he did a tribute post to himself. I didn't delete it. If you go back to, it's like one of her first posts, and it's like a tribute post to Dwayne. Congratulations, Daddy, on a great game. And it was like a picture of him in his like uniform and like a stat line of like how many points and rebounds and assists. And I was like, this is not what this is. So that was his first and last time being able to contribute to Kaav's Instagram. So we help. We as a collective, as a family of now quarantiners, we all contribute different pictures and we throw out different ideas about captions. But a lot of times we just give her captions that we really want to say, but we just can't because we're adults and, we don't want to get fired or be judged.
I mean, that's a really fun bonding activity with your family, like trying to come up with captions. What do you think Kav's reaction will be when she gets older and she gets to see all of these posts and captions that you guys have made?
I'm gonna guess she's going to either be mortified or super with it. I'm not sure. I don't think there'll be any middle ground. There's not a lot of middle ground with her now. She's either like super, super happy and dancing and just like squealing with glee, or she's over it. So we'll know soon enough. Like the words are coming together more rapidly in the last couple weeks. So I'm sure she will have some opinions pretty quick here.
Here's another audience question from Kristen. Do you and Dwayne want any more children?
We every so often, especially, when Kaav and Zaya are, playing, or Zaya's reading to Kaav, or they're just doing things that are just super cute, we're like, maybe, do we? And then like, I'll pick her up and I'll throw my back out. Or like my hip will just start to hurt, like when it rains. And I think perhaps not. Perhaps we're just gonna give it all to the kids that we have. But yeah, she makes you just want more and more. She's really special. But I think this is it for us.
And you're doing a great job, by the way, with the kids that you do have. Very impressive. Here's another question from Addie. Are you doing any more movies since you started writing?
Nothing that I've written. Nothing that I've written, but there's, as soon as we get out of quarantine, and I don't want to be in the first wave of productions back. So by the time we all get comfortable going back to work, there's a host of films that I have set up and ready to go. None that I've written, but all that I am executive producing. So that is really exciting for me. And as an executive producer, I can contribute to the script in other ways. But one thing that this has really taught me, especially in the last, in the last 2 years since I created my production company, and really sort of that point has been really driven home since quarantine, is that I want to provide a platform for other people to live out their dreams and to see their words become, reality, and their dreams, fulfilled of writing, whether that's books or plays or screenplays or TV shows. I want to be able to provide that opportunity, and I don't want to hoard all the opportunities for myself. So I get more excited for our writers and our creatives, and seeing their words probably than I do for myself, because I don't know, there's something really, really amazing about being able to empower other people to live their dreams.
Yeah, definitely. Here's another question from Sierra. Do you think Kaavia will get into acting in the future?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Every day she seems to pick up something new. We have a neighbor with a horse, and every day is like, nay. So we're like, oh, so we started talking to our neighbor. We're like, how young, can you start horseback riding? And they're like, I don't know, about 3, but she's a big girl, so maybe we can start her a little early. So we were like, she's going to be an equestrian. And then we bought her a t-ball thing, and she was like, hitting the ball like Babe Ruth. And we're like, she's going to be a, baseball player. Like, so who knows? But whatever that is, we will be supportive. Of course you want them to do what, follow in your footsteps, but I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she's going to be good at a lot of things, and we just want our kids to know that they are supported no matter, what they get into. So yeah, we'll see.
So the title of your memoir is "We're Going to Need More Wine." I'm just curious, were there any other titles that you came up with, or was that like, your like for sure this is going to be the title of my memoir?
No, that was going to be the title.
Oh.
I think like maybe it was like while I was writing it, we tossed out "I'll Have Another" or "Is There More Wine?" But "We're Gonna Need More Wine." It just had a perfect ring to it. I just wanted the book to feel like a conversation with girlfriends. I wrote it the way I speak. I think my English teacher was probably, from high school, like, did I teach you to do that? No, it's like I wanted the book to feel like a conversation. I didn't want to use all of my SAT words, in trying to explain, me having a very challenging time understanding my secondary sexual characteristics, as I was going through puberty. I wanted to make sure I just sounded like a girlfriend that you've known your whole life, and you're at a Chili's and you're just sharing stories, and it's like, well, I think we're gonna need some more wine. So
it's definitely a fun title, and people need fun books, especially during this time. We have a question from Stephanie. We talked briefly about homeschooling, but we'll expand on that. Congratulations on being a top-selling author. Homeschooling children during COVID allows them to have personal one-on-one schooling. In certain areas where the school rating is below 5 out of 10 and in great need of improvement, how can we help failing schools help educate our children?
that's a great question. And I have a lot of family members who are currently in schools that are less than stellar, or they've had to send their kids to schools that have been less than stellar. One of the things that my husband and I have done, and we've encouraged some of our friends to do, again, like with book donation, to help with libraries, doing virtual readings. You can offer that on your own social media. Reading to children, to give a parent a 10-minute break. You can say, hey, I'm going to do a virtual reading like this, whether that be on Facebook or Instagram Live, and you tell your neighbors, and you just give people a little extra time. You can offer to, basically teach about a subject that you are familiar with or that you have a passion about. And you can offer all of these things for free. It's a little challenging, and we're all trying to think outside the box, how we can contribute. But whether that be donating books, reading books virtually, whether that be doing a live event like this, or just recording yourself reading your children's favorite books, or record yourself talking about expanding on a subject in history that maybe your local school is not covering or is not adequately qualified to talk about. You can kind of provide your own lectures, if you will, and you can make those available for free via YouTube, your social media, Facebook. Just trying to think outside the box and offer each other tools and help. If you have money to donate, do that. If you know a teacher directly, offer to help. I know a lot of teachers who've put up their own PayPal and GoFundMe's just so they can offer more to their students than their district is allocating for them. But it's going to be something that we're all going to have to sort of contribute and tackle as a group. But every little bit helps. I'm sure every parent would love more of these, virtual, reading sessions, or, all of those YouTube readings of books, especially, for people at home who may not have a lot of children's books, or may not have a lot of variety. Everything helps.
Yeah, I agree. Every little bit helps. And we owe a lot to teachers, especially now with they have to think outside the box, like you said, to help educate our children. I think we have time for one last question. What would be your dream role in a movie or show? Have any of your characters come close to it?
You know, it's funny. It's like in hindsight, like I've played a lot of leaders, you know, and they weren't always framed as leaders. I just saw a meme where I realized that a lot of people thought of Isis, my character from Bring It On, as a villain. And I was like, how was Isis a villain? She was fighting for, you know, credit for their work, and she was fighting for a level playing field. And how does that make her a villain? I've, you know, being Mary Jane, you know, Mary Jane was such a dynamic, deliciously complicated woman, and those are the kind of roles that I look for. So I've been blessed in my career to play a lot of dream roles. But the more I read during this quarantine, there are so many amazing roles for, you know, women that are over 25 who might have some lower back pain and a wonky hip that are dream roles to me today that probably wouldn't have been dream roles to me 5-10 years ago. I'd like to think as I grow and evolve as a global citizen, there's a lot more roles and a lot more interesting characters out there that we have just not seen. And I want to be a part of bringing those characters to life. And I've also realized that sometimes the best way to lead is to get out of the way. So I don't always want to play leading roles. I think some of my dream roles that that are on my wish list are more supporting characters. Yeah. Like I think for a lot of actors, the dream has to center. We have to be centered in that. And I'm learning that what makes me happy and what like feeds my soul is to watch other people's dreams come true. And sometimes I'm centered in their dreams, and sometimes I'm, you know, way off center. But all equally fulfilling. So yeah, but I've also never played a role in a horror film. So if there is a Get Out type of script out there, I'm going to find it, and that will be my dream, or at least my dream for the moment, since I've just never done it.
That would be really fun to see you in a horror movie. Speaking of dream roles, I'll wrap it up with this question. Are there any stories you wish there were more of in children's publishing?
Just more diversity of characters, more diversity of in publishing, in authors, in pay, you know, and all of that factors into who gets to tell stories, how they get to tell stories, are they respected for telling those stories, and it tends to lead to a lot of sameness. So I would just love to see like the global community truly, truly, truly reflected in children's literature, which it is woefully underrepresented. I'd love to see more bilingual, you know, books. I'd love to see more of an exploration into different cultures in a way that is true to those cultures, not in a way that that you try to center the white gaze on global communities, because it takes away from what makes those cultures unique if we're trying to explain them away versus centering different communities in their own narrative. Yeah, so I think there's just so much room to improve in every way, shape, and form. But it really does start at the top in publishing, and And then we kind of, what we see as readers is the trickles at the bottom. So we really need to collectively demand different at the top, and who gets to decide who gets to tell what stories and how our children's lives are being shaped.
Thank you. I definitely agree with that. More diversity in children's literature would be fantastic. Although there have been improvements in the last 5 years with we need diverse books. Yeah, we definitely need more. And that's a wrap on our virtual event with Gabrielle Union. Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for taking the time to be here and to share your story and to read your wonderful book to us. And thank you to all of you who tuned in this morning. We greatly appreciate your time and your support of independent bookstores. Again, please consider supporting our bookstore by purchasing a copy of Gabrielle's book, Welcome to the Party. Just click on the green button below the viewer screen. And if you'd like regular updates on our upcoming events, just make sure to follow us on Crowdcast and subscribe to our newsletter. And with that said, stay safe, everyone, and have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Bye.